Back in around 1996, I was working in narcotics division, Dothan Police Department. We had a case where an individual was bringing some marijuana. He was going to sell to this female, and ended up busted her with a pound. Went back and I think got another pound or so from the guy that she got the marijuana from. And of course, I didn't know the guy on the other end, who she had gotten the marijuana from, because on the surveillance detail, I was at another location. So we get back down to the office, and I see this guy, and I recognize him. I know him. And I said, hey, do you want to help yourself out? And sign up as a cooperating informant here and trying to help yourself out on this case some. I knew this guy had a long history of trafficking in marijuana. So he said, yeah, man, I want to do whatever I can do to get this case off of me. So anyway, I said, okay, we need to go to your house and do a consent search. You got any marijuana in your house? No, man, Andy, I don't have anything in the house. I said, well, we just need to do our due diligence and go back to your house, and just so we can say we did. Guy hung his head. I said, how much you got in the house? He said, I got 9 more pounds in my freezer. I said, okay, well, let's go out here and do it. So we all pile in a van, go out to his house secretly, get the 9 pounds there, document all that, get a statement from him. Said, okay, how you going to help yourself out? He said, well, I got a buddy, a buddy in Arkansas that I can call and get him to bring me a pretty large amount of marijuana. And we're talking about how much. He said, well, I think I can get him to bring 100 pounds. So, okay, sounds good. So he tells us that his buddy in Arkansas, his name is Big Larry. They call him Big Larry. And Big Larry was a big fella. He really was. Big Larry and another guy named Mark. They get
Hold on, let's go back. How big was Big Larry?
Big Larry was the only thing Big Larry could wear was the biggest pair of Carhartt overalls that they've ever produced. Pretty much, Big Larry was a good 400.
Good grief!
So just a hillbilly guy from Arkansas, big duck hunter. We'll get in that later. But anyway, Big Larry and his friend Mark, they drive from Arkansas down to Houston, Texas, and they can't get 100 pounds, but they can get 65 pounds. So they get 65 pounds from a Hispanic couple, a man and wife in Houston. So Big Larry brings the 65 pounds over, and we bust Big Larry and Mark with the 65 pounds. So then we take Big Larry down, and I established a rapport with Big Larry. And the guy's a big duck hunter, big outdoorsman. He's from the backwoods of Arkansas. Guy had lost his job with an airline. He was really just trying to feed his family and make a living. He was just doing so by trafficking marijuana,
doing it
which
the illegal way.
Illegal in the state of Alabama anyway. Right. So anyway, we get Big Larry and Mark and the 65 pounds. Get to talking to Big Larry and said, "Listen, do you want to help yourself out?" And he said, "Yeah, man. I can't really go with this. I don't need to go to federal prison." So okay. So anyway, Big Larry, we call back to the Hispanic couple in Houston, Texas, and their names, I'm not going to give any last names, but their name was Juan and Albessa. But she was called Bessie. So anyway, we make a series of calls and gives them some excuses as to why Big Larry can't bring their money. He owed them $48,000 for the 65 pounds. So we had to give them a reason why that he couldn't come over and bring the money back. So, we gave him a story about his car being broken down, couldn't get some parts in. It was going to take a while because the car he was driving, and a lot of people may not have ever seen one of these, but it was an American Eagle, an AMC American Eagle 4-wheel drive station wagon.
I remember those.
So anyway, we make up this stuff and said, hey, listen, can't bring you the money. My transmission's tore up. They're having to ship the part in UPS. It's going to be 3 or 4 days. I got on the phone with them. We recorded some phone calls, and I was Big Larry's guy that he was bringing the dope to in Alabama, and I gave him a story. I'm a construction foreman. I can't leave my job to bring you the money. They wanted Big Larry to fly with the money. He said, well, I can't fly with the money. I'll get caught bringing the money, this, that, and the other. So finally, his co-conspirators in Houston, they agreed to come to Dothan, Alabama to pick up their $48,000, which is exactly what we wanted them to do. Mm-hmm. Well, Big Larry, we were making these series of phone calls, and first of all, whenever I was first interviewing Larry, he said, hey, man, there's 2 things in my car. He said, I really wish you'd get out for me. And I said, what are they? He said, well, I was trying to save up enough money to get my wife's wedding ring fixed. He said, it's wrapped up in a napkin in the glove compartment of the car. He said, if you would get that out. He said, and then he had a custom duck call. I mean, this was like a duck call. I think ended up being worth well over $1,000 as a handcrafted
For a
duck call. Yeah. And he said, would you get that out for me? So of course I get back to the office in there. I get that stuff out. I said, listen, I'll secure this for you. And I said, hey man, you hit that duck call for me a time or two. And he did, man. The guy was like a regional, maybe national champion duck caller. Big duck hunter.
That's a thing.
Just a guy, just a
That's
great,
a thing, really?
great guy. Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Professional duck calling.
Oh yeah, it is. They have contests for that.
Huh.
But anyway, Big Larry. One night I'm at home. And I need to get Big Larry out of the city jail to get him over to my office to make a phone call to our suspects in Houston. This was prior to them coming over. And so I called the jail and I said, listen, if y'all would get Big Larry ready, I'm gonna come down and I'm gonna get him out. Take him over to the office, so we can do a phone call. She said, hey, he wants to talk to you. The jailer there on duty said, hey, he wants to talk to you first. And, like I told you, this guy, he's like 400 pounds. So Big Larry gets on the phone with me. He says, and by this time, we were on first name basis. We were good old boy friends,
Mm-hmm.
He said, listen, Andy, he said, can you do me a favor, brother? I said, what can I do for you? He said, man. He said, this food in the jail, he said, man, this just ain't near about enough. He said, this stuff's just killing me, brother. He said, could you stop somewhere and get me some fried chicken? I said, sure thing. So I went by Kentucky Fried Chicken, took money out of my own pocket, and I bought him an eight-piece chicken with a biscuit and some mashed potatoes. And I got him down to the office, and I sat down at the desk, and I give him this box of fried chicken. And Big Larry, God bless him. You ever seen one of those cartoons, where like the coyote or the wolf or whatever, they take a big ham or something and stick it in their mouth and then pull it out, and there's nothing left but a bone?
That's what he did to chicken leg.
That was Big Larry, man. He inhaled this 8-piece box of fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and biscuit there in just a few minutes. After he did, we were ready to make a call. But anyway, this is kind of a story of compassion. I had compassion for Big Larry because, even though he was doing something that was wrong, he was trying to feed his family. He was just doing it in a nefarious kind of way, so something he shouldn't have been doing. He was just a good old boy from Arkansas. Got caught up in some stuff and had the wrong kind of friends because the guy here in Dothan here set him up pretty good to make a trip to Houston, then bring the marijuana over to us in Dothan and get busted. But anyway, Big Larry, he helped himself out. I think he ended up. We did a reverse with 100 pounds in Arkansas. Went and actually sold somebody else some marijuana in Arkansas. Busted that guy named Ralph. And then Big Larry went to court, and I think he ended up serving about 3 or 4 months federal prison time. But, the story about it is, Larry, this guy would call me even after he got out of federal prison. He'd call me at Christmas and say, hey, Andy, you having a good Christmas? He called Joe Watson. Me and Joe Watson were really good friends with Big Larry there. Even though he got busted, he was kind of our buddy,
It just, people are people, man.
Yeah,
It's on two different sides of the coin.
Well, you be as nice to people as they'll let you be, But
absolutely.
anyway, Big Larry would call me and Joe at Christmas and check on us and that kind of thing. When Hurricane Michael came through back in 2018, my phone, the storm was coming in, and of course, we weren't as badly affected here as the coastline was, but my phone rang and it was Big Larry from Arkansas. Mm-hmm. And Big Larry's like, hey, man, I know that hurricane's coming in down close to y'all. He said, I just wanted to check on you, make sure y'all were okay, and that kind of thing. And, just that was just him. That was just Big Larry. But he, about 2 years ago, I didn't hear from Larry. Hadn't heard from him in a while. I tried to call him. His phone went directly to some, Verizon message or whatever the case may be that, couldn't contact him, whatever. And I started researching obituaries in his local town newspaper there in Arkansas and ran across his name where Big Larry had died. But Big Larry had revealed to me that I think he found the Lord, and he had some grandsons, and he was bringing those grandsons up in the right way, and he was teaching him the craft of duck calling and duck hunting and that kind of thing and all. But Big Larry, that's just one of the stories that stands out in my career. One of the many stories that I have, and it's just he was a good guy that had done some things wrong and had seen the error of his ways, and he was punished and did the right thing. And he was one of those individuals that, he was doing something wrong, but he still had respect for law enforcement and the job that we were doing, and didn't give us a hard time, and actually helped us to bring justice to some bigger drug traffickers. He actually got one in Albessa. They actually drove all the way over here to Dothan, and met me and Big Larry in a hotel room in Dothan, and we actually conspired with them, or they conspired with me, to transport another 1,000 pounds of marijuana.
Were you able to tie that
over to Southeast Alabama, and we actually arrested them also, and had a.
So you were able to charge them with that too?
Oh yeah, we charged them with that too. The weight that he brought over here originally, the 65 pounds, plus the 1,000 pounds that they conspired to bring in some later later shipments, and arrested a couple of other marijuana traffickers.